guys, it's Horsey Step, and today I am back with another Horse Trainer Reacts to Horse movies. We are working our way through Misty. In the last segment, we just saw the pony pinning day. Well, we saw the first part of pony pinning day where they rounded up the ponies and drove them across the ocean to Chincoteague, where they're going to do the sale and whatever else goes on with pony pinning day. So in this segment, we're hopefully gonna see the rest of Pony Pinning Day and all of that jazz, which I'm super excited for. If you guys could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos, that would help me out a ton. And let's go ahead and jump on in and see the rest of Pony Pinning Day, because to me, that was the most interesting part of this whole movie, was just seeing a little bit more about how that worked, since I do think this movie is fairly accurate in that regard. Alright, so they're running the ponies through town. That's interesting. I would have thought they'd have like a corral or some sort of catch area directly for the ponies to go in as soon as they got across the ocean. But I guess they're gonna take them down the street and put them somewhere else. That seems unnecessarily traumatizing for the ponies to have to run through a crowd of people. But I mean, I guess the saving grace is they do this every single year, so the ponies are going to get more used to it, and the older ones are going to be quite familiar with the process at least. That is a lot of noise, though, for a wild horse to have to put up with. I mean, they just have to be petrified at this point. And I imagine they do actually run them for this part of the roundup. Just for like the crowd factor of seeing all the ponies running, and also people can kind of get an idea of which ponies they like and they want to bid on in the auction. So this part actually seems realistic, to have them just run down the street and into the pen that they're going to be held in. All the running they were doing earlier during the roundup just seemed like they were making it more work for them to get the rounding up done and, you know, get the ponies across and organized, because they were having issues with the ponies leaving and getting kind of scattered as they got really worked up and worried about things. In this instance, because these ponies are, you know, they have nowhere to go. There's literally a chute with a crowd of people on either side, and they can either go backwards through the people that are driving them through the chute or forwards into the pen. So it's a lot less risk in terms of making your job harder and losing a potential pony. And also, again, the crowd factor of everyone wants to see the ponies run, and that makes it really exciting. And definitely there is an element of Pony Pinning Day that's about like the festival carnival feel of it. And sure, the ponies are a big aspect, but a lot of it too is just that carnival atmosphere. So they want to make the ponies as exciting as possible and continue to draw crowds for this Pony Pinning Day, even when, you know, majority of people aren't going to be buying a pony. That's really not why majority of people come. So that running is going to help with all the people that, you know, aren't interested in buying ponies but are interested in being in that experience.
Hey, let's go see Misty again.
Now don't be gone long. The race will be starting soon.
They just want to go watch their favorite pony, Phantom, and her baby Misty. They're not interested in the carnival at all because, of course, they've been obsessed with this pony forever. And now she's in a pen where they can look at her and her baby this whole time. So that doesn't shock me at all. I do imagine they'll be excited to watch the horse race as well, though, because, you know, they're horsey people, and that's always exciting, especially for kids, to see horses racing. These ponies do all look very calm and quiet for this kind of environment, which again goes back to they do this every year. So it is possible that these older ponies have just done it so many times by now, and they've learned from the previous older ponies that this is just like something that happens and everything is fine. Although the fact that they're also selling off the babies and therefore weaning them during this process, I would think it would just be traumatic regardless. I don't think the ponies would learn to accept it and be calm about it. I think they would learn that this is like the most horrible thing that happens, and every year they go through this traumatic experience and their babies don't come back with them. But I could be wrong. And I suppose part of it depends on what kind of brain these ponies have. If they have really good solid brains, maybe they just buckle down and relax and eat the food provided a little more quickly than if they were a little more reactive. And I'm sure they're not very reactive. I don't think the Chincoteague ponies are known for being reactive or overly sensitive. I think they are pretty easy, quiet, get along kind of horses. It is also interesting to me that the Phantom is standing over her baby with like her front feet on either side of her baby. I haven't seen a horse do that, and I don't know if it's, I don't even know for sure that that's actually her baby and not like a stuffed animal they put in place of the baby, because honestly it looked like awfully dead and lifeless to me. So hard to really say. They could have put a stuffed animal down there to keep that baby with her. Perhaps it's not actually her baby, and that might be why that whole situation seems weird to me, and then obviously trained her to stand over the baby. But who knows? Watch me be proved wrong as soon as I press play and that thing moves. Yeah, there we go. So that is really interesting that that the baby was laying between her legs like that. Like I said, I just have never seen that happen, but sure enough, the baby did get up. Could have still been imposter stuffed animal baby that was laying there, and they just had that baby there for the split second that it got up, because they didn't actually show the baby on the ground and then getting up. They just cut to it already getting up. And again, babies are really difficult to work with in film because they're not going to follow directions well. They don't have the training or education to just lay here while you shoot your scene and stuff like that. So you do have to work around them more. It definitely isn't a bad idea, especially for scenes where you need the baby to be laying quietly, to sub in some sort of stuffed animal and just keep it like at a distance so that you don't see that the baby is fidgety and moving and excited by this whole filming process.
Mr. Jones, sir. We want to buy the Phantom and are filling Misty. Earned $102 in less than 4 months. Can earn another $100 in 4 more months.
Alright, so they now want to buy both the Phantom and Misty. I thought that they would settle on just buying Misty. That seemed like a great idea to me because obviously we know the Phantom is not actually going to be for sale. They only sell yearlings and sucklings and, well, not sucklings. They only sell yearlings and foals. So it's kind of a mute point. The fact that she has a baby is super cool, and they can just buy the baby and they can have her lines and she can go back out and be wild like she deserves to be. But apparently they want to go ahead and buy both. So they're going to try to convince the fire department to sell them both. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but definitely, I mean, if you really are committed to buying both, especially with only enough money to buy one, good idea to get there really early and talk to them before the auction starts and see if you can work out a deal. It is possible, this is a small town, it is possible that the fire chief will be willing to loan them the extra $100 and let them pay him back later. Obviously in like a bigger scenario, a little more professional, that would never happen, but it is kind of a small town, everyone kind of knows everyone, so it is possible they could get away with that. It still leaves the bigger problem, though, of the fact that the Phantom is 3 and they don't sell 3-year-olds at this auction. So until that element is addressed, I wouldn't feel confident this is going to work out. But hopefully they do talk to the fire chief tomorrow and he gives them some idea of what that's possible. Hopefully he says yes, but I mean, I really don't think it's going to happen. I really think they're going to be left with just a baby and going to have to be happy with having a baby.
Maybe I'll say it to him today.
Yeah, I would say it to him today. I mean, why wait until tomorrow? Why not give him time to think it over? Because the auction is tomorrow, so by tomorrow you need an answer. If you tell it to him today, potentially he can think about it and get it back to you by tomorrow, and you have more time to convince him if he says no. I do like how the boy is thinking ahead, though, and he's going to be really polite and respectful and bring this up to the fire chief in a very mature way. Because I do think that will make a good impression and make it more likely for him to get what he wants out of this. They are awfully cute.
We know the pony sale isn't until tomorrow morning, but we'd like to talk
I gotta get over there. I'll see you later.
Alright, so they did decide to talk to him today, but they picked right as the race was starting, so he doesn't really have time to talk. Hopefully they respect that and let him go watch the race and find him after the race, although I think that they're a little upset that he's walking away from them and they're gonna try to talk to him right now and yell after him and irritate him, which is exactly what you don't want to do when you want something out of somebody. If you want something out of them, you want to make sure that you do it when they have time, they're in a good mood, everything is going well for them. So we'll see. We'll see what their plan is now.
Don't! Come! I want to buy the Phantom!
Come on, Maureen, let's go see the race.
Yeah, go see the race. It's a good idea. And once the race is over, then go find him and talk to him about the buying again. Because this is obviously another main attraction of the day. And so it's just not a good time to bring something up, especially something you want him to carefully consider and hopefully say yes to. These horses look super worked up, especially that black one. Like he's really struggling to keep them under control. Which doesn't entirely shock me for a racehorse. Obviously, racehorses need to be as amped up as possible to just run. Having a horse that's really quiet at the start line and then explodes and goes forward and puts their all into it is the best thing. But horses start to anticipate, they know they're in this environment, they're gonna run, so they start to waste a lot of energy jigging and getting worked up before the start. Obviously isn't a great thing in the sense that they're wasting energy that could be used into running faster. But it is very common and something that I think is quite difficult to train out of a horse. So definitely not super shocking to me. This race does seem very small. I think there are 3 horses here. I'm curious if they're just not showing all of them yet, or if it's really just only going to be 3 horses in the race, because that seems like such a tiny race. And they also, I think, are all ridden by kids, which is also interesting. I wouldn't have thought there would be kids in the race in the first place. And then I know that the black one is owned by a kid and ridden by a kid, so I was like, well, maybe that's an exception. It never occurred to me the norm would be for these to be ridden by kids.
12-year-old Benson hat. And they're off!
Alright, there was no start sign or anything, just the one on the done, I think it is, just started going and everyone else followed. Definitely that rider on the black is the only one that's up off the back in a proper kind of jockey position. The rest of them are kind of sitting back, flapping on the horse's back, which is going to definitely slow them down. So if that black horse wins, like I suspect it will, I can't help but think that Ryder had a lot to do with it. He's riding much better than these other 2 boys are. They're definitely picking up some speed here, though. But it doesn't seem like a very close race. That black horse is way faster than the other 2. Maybe. Actually, they're holding that paint back quite a bit. So you can see how the paint has its mouth completely gaped open around that bit. So there's obviously a lot of contact on the bit. They're really holding that paint back. So he is actually probably the faster horse in real life. We'll see if they give him a little head and have him win, or if they pull him back farther as they get closer to the start line and make it seem like it was close without it actually being close. And obviously this is a tricky thing to do. It's tricky to film a race because you have horses galloping all out and then you have to prove that one is faster. And invariably the one that is actually faster and would actually win the race isn't. And the other one that is faster wants to get ahead. And it is a little tricky to film. I do wish that they would teach these horses to come back a little better so it was a little less obvious to the more educated viewers that they were really preventing, you know, a horse that's supposed to come in second or third from getting to the front. But they do at least rate the horses and, you know, use riding techniques to get that horse to not win and show the scene of that when they want to win. Again, you could do this so much more subtly. You don't actually need that horse's mouth completely gaped open as you're pulling on the bit. If his mouth were closed, I wouldn't have thought too much of it. I would have had trouble seeing the difference between just holding the contact and kind of steadying the horse, which is what they're all gonna do and what you see a lot in racing, versus actually hanging on him and trying to bring him back. It's a long race, isn't it? So Patches has fallen back again, is no longer up at the lead. Wow, they didn't even show the ending to that. That's crazy. So I guess that little moment where the paint was up with the black was the only moment she got there, and then they held her back and let the black get ahead and him have an easy win. But I do wish they'd like at least showed the end of that race. Like, that's crazy to me. They spend so much time showing him galloping on the track, but didn't even show like crossing a finish line or really make it 100% clear how those horses came into the order, which seems like an integral part of showing a race, right? It's interesting choices with the filming, honestly. All right, so the fire chief is leaving.
We'll just have to get here early in the morning. Talk to Mr. Jones then.
Yeah, they'll just have to talk to him in the morning. I'm sure he has a long day. I'm sure that he was here first thing in the morning to help deal with the whole rounding up of the ponies, and you know, he watched the race and he's ready to go home. That was probably the only thing he was hanging around for and waiting for before he left for the day. So it doesn't shock me that he's leaving now. It is too bad they couldn't catch him and talk to him before he left. But they'll just have to talk to him in the morning. Again, inconveniencing him to talk to him is probably the worst thing they can do, because then he's going to be a little bit in a bad mood anyway, and they want a favor out of him. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that segment of Misty. That was the second half to the first day of this whole pony pinning carnival fair, whatever it is called. I really don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and call it carnival because it looks a lot like a carnival, but I'm sure there's a whole like official name for it. But anyway, it was really cool to see. The race was, you know, interesting. Not at all what I expected, but probably more common back then. I'm sure the race has evolved to something a lot more organized now. I would be curious if they still have kids riding in the race now, or if it's become more of like an adult sport, a little more organized. But anyway, in the next segment, we'll see how their talk with the fire department chief goes and whether they can actually buy the Phantom in that auction tomorrow, because I'm still super curious to see if that happens. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.